Good morning. Welcome to Ramblings with Joe. Well, back to politics this morning. It's Monday, and I thought that I needed to address something that I discussed with someone. So, the Democratic, capital D, Democratic protests, they pivoted. And I have to give them credit. It is a nice move. I watched the protests on Saturday from the previous day and the previous few days. And there was definitely a strong theme going on during those protests. Here comes my co-host. Hello. And that theme was anti-ICE and very obviously anti-American. And I say that because during the first few days of the protests, they were burning American flags. They were spitting on American flags. They were being very disrespectful to the emblem that represents the country. The pivot came on Saturday. Initially, I could have swore I heard them talking about protests against Trump and ICE. And they pivoted pretty hard in the direction of no kings. And the pivot was very impressive. No more burning of flags did I see, no more spitting on flags, and no more disrespecting that emblem. It was a phenomenal pivot. It is also one that I believe is just a facade. And this is why I believe that. The attitude changed because what I was hearing mostly from the violent protests from the violence that happened after the protests were officially over. That was how disrespectful the people were being to the country they lived in. So this morning when I got up, I realized, yeah, this is a political move to garner more favor from people in the middle and on the right. I am a vet. I consider myself someone who loves the country I live in. And I am a proponent of freedom. Two things. Number one, I support your right to do whatever you want with your property. That includes burning a flag or spitting on a flag or whatever you want to do to the flag that you own. And number two, I support the freedom for the people who see you do that to hold whatever opinion and express whatever opinion they have of you. So this kind of falls into the I want to know who the racists are category. I don't want the racists to be driven underground. I want the racists to have their free speech and to spout their free speech. I want to know who they are so I can have zero to do with them. So I don't go to their business, so I don't associate with them. I also want to know who you are who are burning the flag for the same reason. I don't want to associate with you. I don't want to go to your business. The idea that you are so ashamed of what you're doing that you're wearing a mask kind of speaks volumes. Tells us all we really need to know about the people that are doing that. So the pivot to the no kings and what I consider the false embracement of patriotism. That's really obvious to anybody in the middle, anybody who's standing, kind of seeing both sides for what they are. Yeah, it's saccharine. It is fake, and a lot of us don't buy it. I'm not saying there aren't some patriotic embracers of patriotism and America's values. What I'm saying is the violence that is happening after the protests are still on the left's shoulders. That's your violence. Own it. If that violence is not called out by you, you are encouraging it. If the people who organize the protests know who the people are who do the violence, and most assuredly there are some, and they're not calling out the people who are participating in the violence, that's on you. You are culpable. So, fix your party. It's a crying shame. There are more cases of violence after protests during the weekend. Locally here in the Augusta, Georgia area, they had a very civil, very, respectful protest. They stood along the side of the road. They didn't block traffic. They didn't, for their cause, they did not instill violence in the streets. And for that, I appreciated their protests. And quite possibly, I think that these people are patriots, and that they are, although I disagree with many of their points of view, they are using free speech and the right to protest to push their point of view. That's great. I embrace that fully. The places that have the violence, the places that do not call out, the protest organizers who are not calling out the people that are propagating the violence, that's on you. These were your protests. And I did a quick search on the internet, and basically what I found, there's between 500 and 700 accounts of violence after Democratic protests, and like 6 on the Republican side. That's a pretty astounding number. Someone when I posted this raw data, someone on Facebook explained that I'm taking away from the, how did she put it? It takes away from the message for me to break down the violence and attach it to that party, the message of the protesters. No, I'm sorry. Correlation does not equal causality. However, that's 600. Let's go with a low number. 500 versus 50. At some point you have to look at it and say, yeah, those two are connected, and they are connected. Okay, so I see a lot of Mexican flags in the protests. And so when a country conquers another country, what they do is they drop the flag and hoist their flag. You're not helping your cause. I don't live in a time when that part of the world is in question as to who owns it. It's part of the United States of America. trying to claim that it was originally a Mexican province, it's irrelevant right now. Nobody cares about that on the right or the center. It's America. This is the country we live in. This is the time period we live in. I cannot be responsible. I cannot be held responsible. None of us, not even the country as a whole, can be held responsible for what previous generations did. Not our fault. One of the things the left likes to do is to claim that the American history is built upon slavery and prejudice. There's no doubt about that. The world history is built on those values, on slavery and prejudice. America was founded during that time period. We fixed it. We pulled it out. Is there still racism and prejudice? Absolutely. And there always will be. Those jackasses are going to be in our world. I cursed. That means I have to check the box that says this video can't be in other countries, which is ironic considering my topic this morning. At any rate, yes, those prejudices exist. That racism exists. We are trying to pull ourselves out of that murk of history. The current generation is not responsible for previous generations' actions. Sorry, rambling a little bit there. Went down a side road. At any rate, Democrats, that's your violence. That's your responsibility. Own it. It's yours. Little slurp here. It's a hard thing to look at what's going on and saying, yeah, I'm responsible for that. But that's your duty, to bring honest realization to your party and to stop it. So that was topic 1 of today. Topic 2, wasn't really sure I was going to talk about, but I think I need to. And that is the idea of a bidet. So during the COVID fiasco in 2020, during the whole toilet paper shortage of 2020, I invested in a bidet. And I didn't like it. It sucked. It hurt a little bit. I got used to it. And I don't want to be without a bidet now. And I know this is not something that anybody wants to hear about, because we have this whole it is forbidden to talk about thing. Well, as anybody that knows me knows, I don't have very many, what is the word? I don't have very many topics that I'm not willing to discuss. And this is one of them. So this past weekend, I installed a new bidet in my bathroom. It was a to-do, because it is not a unpowered bidet. And we have one of those toilets that lives in a closet. And just a very small room. I call it a toilet closet. I don't know what it's really called. And what we did is, I had to install an outlet. So I had some place to plug in this bidet. That took me 3 hours. Probably for a professional electrician or someone who knows how to fish a wire through a wall, probably would have taken 30 minutes. Look, I am not a professional. I know how to wire a socket. It's not hard. I know how to install a breaker if I need to. That's not hard. I really am. This weekend I found out I'm really bad at fishing wires through the wall. So behind your wall are studs. And those studs are set 16 inches apart. So I have access to a power source where I thought I had 16-foot studs, and it turned out there was an extra stud in there to support the wall. So I've already cut the hole for where the outlet's going to go, and I've drilled a hole through the wall, through that stud, to get the wire. And oh my goodness, that was a fight. I got it done, but man, I am not good at it. At any rate, I installed that and I put in the new bidet. The other one was 5 years old, close to it, and it was time to get rid of it. My wife never liked it because there were too many nooks and crannies, and I could never get it clean to her satisfaction. She doesn't use a bidet. She doesn't like it, which is ironic because she's German, and the people in Europe are more familiar with bidets and use them more than Americans. So, I gotta tell you, if you can get used to a bidet, well, number one, there's the savings in toilet paper. That's number one. You are going to save money. Not a buttload, sorry for the euphemism, but you are going to save some money. If you're an environmentalist, you're going to save the environment a little bit of waste. And if you have hemorrhoids, this is a huge relief to hemorrhoids. I know I don't consider myself having hemorrhoids anymore. Honestly, since I got the bidet, it's not an issue anymore. So I know, I've crossed several boundaries here in conversation, but if you have hemorrhoids, invest in a bidet, you're going to find relief if you can get used to it. If you can't get used to it, then you've wasted your money. No, you haven't wasted your money. I think that you're going to find you'll get used to it and you're going to find some relief in that. I certainly did. I am 61 years old. I just spent, I guess it was about $250 on this bidet. Now, a real bidet, this is just a seat that you install on top of a toilet, and it absolutely, if you don't have to install a socket, it's probably close to an hour install. But with the socket that I installed amateurishly, it's amazingly difficult for me to do that kind of thing. At any rate, about an hour to install. If you get a simple one without the need for power, it'll take you about 20 minutes tops. Also gives you a really good chance to clean the toilet thoroughly, which, not a problem. I clean the toilet thoroughly. This is, like I said, this is one of those topics that everybody considers a forbidden topic. We're not going to talk about things that go in the bathroom. We're not going to talk about things that go on in the bedroom in this country, for that matter. I personally don't have those restrictions on my topics or what I'm willing to talk about. At any rate, this is an incredible asset to my life, and I don't ever intend to be without one for the remainder of my life. It has brought me much relief and has given me a little bit more confidence to get done what needs getting done after a bowel movement. At any rate, the bidet I purchased, I'm not sponsored, obviously. Neither one of you, my two listeners, would go out and do this anyway, but I just need to put out there for you to consider. It's something worth having if you haven't tried one before. And by try, I mean give it 2-3 weeks, because once you're used to it, these two things are completely unrelated, but they're also similar. Flossing your teeth. If you floss your teeth every day, eventually your gums quit bleeding. I haven't always had great dental hygiene, but when I started my dental hygiene to the point where I could floss my teeth every day, my gums quit bleeding. 100%. Not occasionally they bled or anything. They just quit bleeding. Flossing your teeth makes for healthy gums. But you have to get past that hump. If you're not a flosser and you floss your teeth the first time, you're going to see blood on the string. But by the end of week 2 or 3 of flossing, it feels good. Number one, it feels good to floss. And number two, the blood goes away. There's nothing there. Now, there's no blood when you use a bidet. However, by week 2 or 3, you're done. That odd feeling of this is forbidden, it's gone. It's not there anymore. It becomes just part of your daily hygiene. And you'll come to not want to do without it. You will come to expect it. As a matter of fact, I will go as far as to say, I don't want to defecate any place but at home. Most of us feel that way anyway, but now I'm almost militant about it. I can't tell you how good a bidet is. Till you try it, you don't know. Once you do try it, you will know. So those were my 2 topics today. Pivot and bidet. And I just made some of you very uncomfortable. Some of you who disagree with my political point of views were very uncomfortable about the pivot discussion. Some of you, most of you, were very uncomfortable with my bidet discussion. But that's life. And when you tune in to Ramblings with Joe, you get honesty. I promise you that much. I will be honest with you about my opinion, and I'll be honest with you about my bidet. At any rate, it is Monday. It looks like rain. I did not get a chance to cut my grass this weekend because it's just been wet. So I'm hoping that by tonight, at least the front yard is dried out and I can cut it. As I've said before, I live in an HOA and I really don't want to have my neighbors, I have close neighbors, to be upset with me over the shape of my front yard. There's nothing I can do about my backyard. It's just too wet to cut, but I will go out to the front yard and cut it when I get home this evening. It looks kind of bad right now, but that's life. You know, little things in life, and doing what you can to help people and keep people from being angry at you about the things that you have control over, like your front yard. Anyway, it is Monday. I hope you all have a great week. I'm going to go out there and try and have a great week. And I hope you find peace, love, and dream. L'chaim.